Good morning, Catherine. Today is Thursday, the 21st of November, and I register for classes tomorrow at 7 a.m. So I have to be up at like 6:45-ish to make sure that I'm on the system and that I'm all set up to actually register for classes. Guido, Kendi, Michal, and I are going to sit in our common room half asleep, making sure that we get all of the correct classes. I have made 2 schedules like 2 weeks ago trying to figure out classes that I would want to take at times that I want to take them, so that way I can get requirements out of the way and get into classes that aren't at 8 o'clock in the morning. So far I have no 8 a.m.s. Every class that I've chosen fulfills a requirement, and by the end of it I should only have to do 1 Gen Ed. I should only have to take a science credit if I can get into all of the classes that I want to take. So yesterday I went to the comic book store with Kendi, because that's the kind of people we are, and he was going to pick up all of the comics that he hadn't yet gotten to pick up in the past month. So he bought like $80 worth of comics. I bought $1.50 of the Incredible Hulk comics. They have a bin in the back corner of the store where they put all of the older comics and the ones that don't have, or that have been out for a while, and they discount them, so every single one of these was 25 cents. So along those lines, if anybody is looking for anything to get me for the next few gift-giving holidays, I would very much appreciate Incredible Hulk stuff. At the comic book store, they have everything that you could possibly want in a comic book. And they have collections of books. So you know that I have a collection called Batman in the 40s, which is every comic of Batman that they sent out in the 1940s. They have that, and they have a bunch of collections of things. And one of the things that Marvel has, because Hulk is a Marvel superhero, is what's called Marvel Masterworks, where they have all of the comics that you could possibly want from that specific superhero in a book. So they have the Masterworks for the Gray Hulk, which is the very first Hulk, and then they have the Red Hulk, which is Hulk's enemy. They have just Hulk in 6 volumes that are that thick a piece, which is a lot. And I mean, it's been going since the 60s, so it makes sense that it would be a lot of issues. And they've also had spin-offs and collections where Hulk sort of just shows up. So yeah, so my roommates and a couple friends and I watched Harvey last night, which is a beautiful and fantastic movie, and I was reminded to watch it because a couple weeks ago John Green of the Vlog Brothers made a video about how his boss told him, watch Harvey. It'll mean a lot to you. So I rewatched it with a bunch of my friends, and the thing about Elwood P. Dowd, who's the main character of this movie, is that he's a very sweet person. He doesn't cut to the chase in conversations. He actually tries to sit down and have conversations with people. When his family or his friends want him to sort of get on track with things and get super focused on something, he'll stop, he'll take the time, and he'll meet somebody. And so what he does is, when he meets somebody new, so at the very beginning he meets the mailman, and he goes up and he says, my name's Dowd, Elwood P., here, have one of my cards. And so he digs through his pocket and he gets a business card, and he shows it to them, and he says, I live here, and if you want to call me, call this number, not this number, because this is the old number. And he always makes sure that he talks to these people and he gets to know them. And towards the end, he's talking to this cab driver. His sister had gone in and said, well, I need you to pay the taxi. He said that he would just leave us here if you don't pay, and we'll have no way to get home. So if you can just come back so you can pay him. And Elwood comes out and he says, okay. And so he starts to meet this man. He says, I'm Elwood P. Dowd. And then the taxi driver introduces himself and he says, well, it's nice to meet you here. Have one of my cards. And then he explains that he, his sister, and his niece live at the address, and then the phone numbers. And he says, well, do you like your work? Is it good work? And he has a conversation with this guy, and he says, well, do you like your work? How long have you been doing it? And then he invites him over for dinner, and he says, well, tomorrow night, a few friends and I are going to have dinner. It's very informal. If you'd like to come, we would love to have you. Usually, when you meet a new person, you say, oh, it's nice to meet you. Elwood P. Dowd doesn't do that. He says, it's good to know you. And I think that's a very important distinction that he makes, where he actually takes the time to get to know these people. So he asks them questions about their work, about their family, how long they've lived wherever they've lived, and he gets to know them. And it very well may be a time difference, because this movie is from the 1950s. Even back then, he took the time to slow down and to get to know all of these people and to make connections with people that he wants to be friends with. So, Catherine, and to anybody else we know who's watching, it's good to know you. I'll see you tomorrow.